Hi everyone. This is going to be a speech about Despacito. You don't have to interpret just yet. I thought I would use this opportunity to have a bit of a rambling speech towards the end, where it's just me thinking out loud, probably quite fast, but hopefully without anything too intricate or complicated, which means you can probably latch on to my speech and just go with it. That's going to be towards the end, the second part. The first part is going to be a bit more factual and hopefully slower and more structured. I'll try and make that happen. Let's get started then. Despacito. There you go. I've done it. It's probably already started in your head now, the entire song playing, and it's probably not going to stop. Not today, not tomorrow. It's probably going to be in your mind all week. That's as bad as it can get. Or if you're slightly better at mental self-control, as it were, perhaps you'll manage to put an end to it by tonight. I think it's often said you always remember where you were on the 11th of December 2001. Oh, the 11th of September. Sorry, of course. September 11th, 2001. I do. And I think many of us will remember where we were on the 24th of June 2016. I do myself. I remember what I was doing when I got the piece of news that came out that day. But I also remember where I was, what I was doing, and what day it was the first time I heard Despacito, this song. I was enjoying a stroll by the banks of Lake Geneva with a very good friend of mine, and we walked past a group of teenagers, young people, and they were playing a song on their speakers. And my friend goes, "Oh, listen, it's the new Latino hit." And I went, "Okay," and just gave it a listen. Actually, I think I took a couple of physical steps back to listen. I thought, okay, so this is going to be, I suppose, all the rage for a couple of weeks or a month or two. This was the 21st of April of this year. Well, it's still here, isn't it? Something a bit strange is going on, wouldn't you say? I'll get to just how strange this is perhaps in a minute. But first of all, I'll probably introduce the song. So this song was released on the 12th of January 2017 of this year, and it is by Puerto Rican artists Luis Fonsi and Daddy Yankee. Technically, it's reggaeton pop. It was released by Universal Music Latin, both the song and the music video that go with it. Commercially speaking, the song did very well. It topped the charts of 45 countries and has now reached the top 10 of 9 other countries. But it's more than that. This song is something of an odd phenomenon. It's now the most streamed song in history. It's reached 2.8 billion views on YouTube and 4.6 billion views in total. So far, it's been downloaded 118,000 times, and here I mean digital song sales, so people who've actually paid for it, and 77% of those sales correspond to the Justin Bieber version, because a Justin Bieber version, there's the original version. The Justin Bieber has a bit of English to begin at the start. Actually, it's interesting that the first time I actually realised what the song was, I mean, because I'd heard it a little bit that time by the lake, but the first time I actually realised it was something of a phenomenon was when I came across a video on YouTube, which is itself a bit of a joke. And it's 4 guys in a car criticising the song, going, I just can't stand it. it's just, you know, it's everywhere, this thing, and it's bad. That's not a good song. That's pretty. Oh, it's horrible, and it's playing the whole time, and then the chorus hits, and they all sing it. Boom, Despacito, blah 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 blah. So so this was basically, I think, the second time I came across a song. It was already a parody of it, and there are hundreds of parodies out there. It's become a cultural phenomenon. There's a cello version, which I think is actually quite nice. Two guys playing it on the cello. And it's actually been taken up by some people you might not expect. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, of all people. He did this, or his party did this, in order to promote their constitutional assembly vote, this citizens' assembly that was elected on the 30th of July. They actually used this song to encourage people to vote, and it said something along the lines of slowly we're all coming together to bring the country together. And this, I have to say, totally backfired on him. There was a huge backlash, and the artists themselves actually spoke out against Maduro, and not just against his use of the song and the fact that he'd used it without asking for their permission. But also they actually spoke out against his politics. So I think that's something that really backfired on him there. It's not actually the first time that politicians try to use songs for their own purposes, for political gains, without asking for the artist's permission. There was quite a notorious case actually in New Zealand, if I'm not mistaken, where the National Party used a song that sounded a lot like one of Eminem's hits, the rapper Eminem. Lose Yourself, specifically. There was actually a court case, and there's quite funny footage out there on the internet of a lawyer playing Eminem's song in court. So I've talked a little bit about the phenomenon so far, but what is this song actually about? What's the big deal? First of all, let's look at the lyrics, shall we? I'm not going to read them out to you. They're in Spanish. It just so happens that understanding Spanish is sort of my job, so I can roughly translate them for you. But I've done more than that. I've interpreted them. So as opposed to an entire song, you now have 3 lines, because you can really sum the song up in 3 lines. Line 1, I can tell we're attracted to one another. Line 2, let's slowly move closer to one another. Let's start dancing and touching. That's line 2. And line 3, let's have sex, which you, by the way, will find mind-blowing, to the point that it will make you forget your last name. That's it. That's all the song says. Now, what do I personally think about this song? It's all right. It's okay. You know, it's as a song goes. Why not? You know, it's pop. I'm not much of a music expert myself. Fine. You know, I can dance to it. But what's the big deal? Seriously, it doesn't really warrant such a success. I'm not entirely sure I get it. Of course, I'm writing a speech. I'm delivering a speech about this, and I had to sort of prepare for it. So I have spent time thinking about why it's become such a success. And I thought, more generally, why do we have these crazes? Why do things go viral? Something quite similar happened with Gangnam Style, I'm sure you'll all remember, from 2012. It was the first YouTube video, the YouTube video version of that song was the first YouTube video to reach 1 billion views. Ultimately, what I think is that these phenomena kind of become crazes in and of themselves, if you understand. there's no good reason. It's almost mathematical. You now have the internet. It's a thing. It's there. People can share things instantaneously from one end of the earth to the other, and share it amongst many people. People have followers. So there are constant things out there which you might refer to as memes. And by meme, I don't necessarily mean internet meme. There's a broader concept of a meme. It's hard to explain, but it's basically something, an idea that can be reproduced and sent, shared between people. Not necessarily via anything electronic at all. It can simply be an idea that spreads by word of mouth. So you have these memes in the original sense that are out there. There are constantly a number of them out there, and there's a critical point where one of them gathers enough of a following that it starts having an impact, or a following that grows exponentially. It just becomes bigger and bigger because it's the biggest thing out there, and the internet is a structure, a network that's such that it picks up on what is most visible. And that's all there is to it. I'm sure you could probably make a huge success out of something that has very little intrinsic value. Obviously, it would make sense, though. I mean, perhaps I'm pushing this a bit far, because you would imagine that the things that become relatively popular in the first place are probably things that are, that have some value because people, find them interesting. I've got other examples. Say Beyonce's pregnancy picture. That went around the world a billion times. I think it was the most shared picture ever. And you've got memes. Some are quite funny. I mean, and here I mean internet memes. The one you're probably more familiar with. You have. I'm not entirely sure how you pronounce this even, actually. Doge. I think Doge is how you pronounce it. How did you pronounce that? No, I always pronounce it Doge. Do we have other opinions around the table? Dodge, yeah? No. Okay, do you know what I'm talking about? I'm talking about this picture of a dog with words written next to the dog, and it just says, wow, such. It'll typically be a combination of a word and another word that doesn't fit with it. So something that doesn't work with an adverb, something that doesn't work with an adjective. I don't know. Can't think of an example right now. To be honest, this is somewhat removed from the topic of the speech. I don't really have to go into so much detail. I've got another example. You have Harambe, the gorilla whose passing we all felt very sad about. So all these things, they're out there constantly. Before the internet came about, they never could have been shared. But the internet is now a thing. You have memes in the original sense that constantly get posted to the internet. Some of them get picked up. You have this wave phenomenon that happens, and whatever's at the very top of the wave keeps riding it, and hopefully not forever. Otherwise, we'll be hearing Despacito until 2050, and I really hope that doesn't happen. Thank you.